Alrighty, hello internet. I hope everybody's doing alright. As is our usual, we're gonna do a quick mic check. I just like to make sure everything's looking good before we start things up. And then like the title of the video says, today we're gonna be playing the best game on Steam. Which very easily, in my opinion, is Oxygen Not Included from Klei. Klei's just got a great reputation overall with coming out with some absolute bangers. How's it going, your dad? But Klei's got a rep for going with some absolute bangers, and they have such a good stick-to-itiveness. Oxygen Not Included, I think, is coming up on 5 years old now, and they deployed Spaced Out a couple of years ago, and then they made an announcement a year and a half or so ago saying, hey, we've dedicated a lot of our time to quality of life improvements to the game for both people with the DLC and people with the base game. We have come up with some new ideas we would like to do to come out with DLCs. And the DLCs that have come out so far were DLC Singular, Frosty Planet Pack, in my opinion, has been a very solid addition. And they are now coming out with the Bionic Booster Pack, as you can see down at the bottom here. Wishlist now. And in celebration, they have made the game free on Steam for the weekend. So that's not only including today, Sunday, but tomorrow, Monday as well. So if any of you want to try out this game after you see what's going on here, I highly recommend it. This game is well worth the money, and considering the fact that the devs are still putting effort into it every single, I don't know whether it's, they were still putting effort into it. I was going to say like every month, but that's not the rate of deployments, obviously, but they're doing a great job with this, and they're still putting a great amount of effort into it, even if you just have the base game and aren't interested in these DLCs. Yeah, Mr. Protodroid in my chat also is recommending, because it's just fantastic. Thank you, Caleb. So, everything sounding good then? Nobody said anything sounds bad or that I'm out of balance, so I'm assuming, we're good to go. We're going to start ourselves with a new game, Survival, Spaced Out variants, and then we're going to be pulling out the Frosty Planet Pack. There's a few things I do want to get specifically, though, rolled. I don't want Geoactive. A bunch of heat with the... and we don't want Metal Pour either. Large glaciers. Well, the entire thing is going to be a glacier, so... that's not a downside. Metallic caves, large... I'll take that. And the other downsides are just basic boulders. Having radioactive crust on the Tundra asteroid is actually good. Metal Pour on the Regolith asteroid isn't great, but we probably won't get out there in this one if I'm being 100% honest with myself. You're all good, my dude. Alright, we're going to start this. Now we're going to get into our selection of peoples. It's always important to select the first 3 people to be generalists, but not for everything, because we are going to be warping in more people pretty early. But we want to make sure we have a good starting crew. Nope, I do not want somebody who falls asleep periodically, especially early on. That will not be helpful. I'm looking for a researching operator right now. That's what I would like. This one's also... I would rather have a builder digger. Nah. That's too much work. But that's a pretty good... you know what? That's a pretty good mix, especially since we could probably just get a proper researcher later on, and then focus Steven on cooking and farming. So let's see if we can't find ourselves... but that's... okay. Because we're also looking at the stress reaction here at the bottom. I really do not want to get a couple of them. Like, destructive. Vomiter is kind of bad, too, just because of the fact that you have so much food poisoning that ends up everywhere. And this guy's got a decreased germs resistance, so we don't want to be dealing with that. We just need to find... fine. So now we need somebody who's good at digging. Preferably somebody good at digging. And somebody good at... I mean, that's pretty much it, I think, for the main stuff. Maybe some tidying, too. Let's try for the specifics. I try to avoid this because sometimes it rolls really bad. We're just getting digger operators, digger cook. Let's try Digger tidy build. That's pretty good. And you don't need to be a farmer, so that doesn't matter. Oh, we're just gonna have to avoid getting you stressed. But that's fine. We're just gonna call it that, because that's easy. Alright. So now it's planning time. We get to start with a whole bunch of problems. This entire planetoid, frozen solid, like a rock. That's not the overlay. There we go. Everything's cold. Everything's very cold. A functional research decryptor. What the heck? Okay. They added some new buildings in the latest quality of life update, so there's going to be some stuff that even I don't know about because I haven't gotten a peek at it yet. Came out earlier this week, so just haven't had time. Let's see here. I've been working on projects for upcoming stuff. I got something coming out tomorrow that's an experiment. Whether it's going to work out or not, we're not 100% sure, but it was a really fun time messing around and trying it out, so we'll see. I hope you all enjoy it. So we're just going to dig out tunnel and get a little bit more visibility. There's some granite there. We need to find some actual hard rocks like this. This is fantastic. We need granite or something like that because I do not want to build our structure out of snow. If we start heating things up, the entire floor will melt out. And we will be heating things up in due time. So it's for the best that we just get things sorted now. We are going to mark ice and wood as items that we can see in our resource supply on the right side. One of the nice things that this DLC, the Frosty Planet Pack, added in, though, that I really have been liking is the aloe vera seeds. They have been absolutely fantastic for balancing out CO2 emissions, and I consider them... I think they're better. I might be wrong, but I think they're better than oxyferns. At least on this world, especially because of the temperature concerns. Oxyferns require way too much heat, especially early game when I can't get a hold of anything. So now we're just gonna tunnel up here and see if we can't get a hold of some of that granite. Oh yeah, that's right. We're gonna have to get our... We have to get levels, and they don't spawn in with anything, so... It's alright, we'll get there. We'll get there. Because getting a hold of granite is going to be absolutely necessary for placing anything down. We can put stuff down, but it's very quickly going to end up either being moved or end up having no floor under it and stop functioning properly. But I guess it's a good idea to probably set that up as is right now so that we can start our research immediately. But we also need to convert ice into water to do research. And that would be... Oh no, we don't need water. That's for the super... What am I thinking? We need dirt. The basic research machine just needs dirt. The second tier one requires water and dirt, and we have to unlock a boiler for that to get there. But we'll get there soon enough. There we go. Alright. Now we're going to start research. And the first research we should probably do... I'm thinking the wood heater, but I'm actually going to be a little bit more focused on long term, and we're going to go with farming first. Yeah, farming will be fine. We're going to go with cots. We're going to use one of the special designs because it's nicer. Just set up 3 basic cots for now so that they have somewhere to sleep. And I need to check the light overlay. Oh yeah, that would be fine. I just want to make sure that they're not sleeping in the light. It will give them a debuff. Make them upset. Alright, buddies. Yep, they're all on their chill part of their cycle. Where they're just taking a break. And then tomorrow will be the day that they build those beds. Yeah, they even changed the music slightly. It's nice. I was a little bit tentative when I saw that it was just going to be a planet pack. And I will say that they didn't add much to the late game with this pack. It's mostly early game mechanics. I think it's because of the fact that balancing late game stuff gets exponentially more difficult. But I do wish that they had added a little bit more to the late game. Some new materials, some new mid-tier or high-tier materials, because they made it possible to get wood in different ways. They made it possible to reprocess CO2, make heat, all that kind of stuff, generate CO2 even. But, like, that's all base level stuff. They didn't make it possible to generate any kind of, like, new top-tier metals. They didn't make any new synthesis available. Cinnabar can only be crafted into mercury, and mercury is a liquid that doesn't have much use. It has a really good R value, so it seems to be good for, like, a heat exchanger box, and probably would be a lot cheaper than using refined metals for a lot of those situations. But besides that, the only other use I've had for it so far was a radiation shield where I built like a tank above everybody near the surface, and then filled it with the mercury so that it just reduced the amount of radiation coming in from space. So it's something, but it's not the best in the world. We're also going to add in an outhouse while everybody waits, because we don't need anybody idling. But we really need to get some points so that we can get a hold of this granite and igneous rock. That stuff's going to be absolutely essential to our colony survival. There we go. Outhouse done. Just make sure that that stays stocked, please. And then we'll probably take this opportunity to do our basic priorities. So this guy... Where's his... There we go. Cooking, researching, farming for Steve. Researching, farming, and cooking. We're just setting basic priorities right now. I'll get more into the weeds with it as we have more. For now, I just want everybody to know what they should be doing, and then if they don't have anything to do in that department, go do something else. There we go. Basic setup done there. And then once this research is done, we're immediately going to flip over and do the heater. There we go. Flip over and get ourselves the heater. And we'll do advanced computation while we're at it. Get ourselves the level 2 computer. So I'm debating right now. I think I'm going to have to do a couple of layers down before I actually worry about CO2. I should probably end up down here and utilize these these natural aloe veras to do a lot of the CO2 fixation, especially considering the small quantities we have right now. So we're just going to wait things out a little bit and let things go. Well, we've actually burned out a lot of the O2 already. We're going to dig. And why am I'm getting into the bad habit of setting everything to priority 9. I always remember the joke that the community has. If everything's priority 9, then nothing is. Does that stop me from falling into the same pitfall over and over again? No. No, it does not. I do it again and again and again. Yeah, they're all kind of chilly. And that is probably affecting their sleep ability, which is sad. But we'll fix it soon enough. Don't you worry, folks. We'll have them set on a very standard, very rigorous food and housing schedule, and everything will be good for them. They'll have sustainable food, sustainable O2, and warm environment in short order. Can almost guarantee it. For now, we're just going to have the dig guy keep on digging, because that'll level him up and get him XP. So we need to get him up to the point where he can mine the granite. It's just a basic tough rock, and early game, it's the equivalent of a wall. It's as bad as neutronium, because I can't get through it. Ceiling collapse. Yeah, I'm watching. It's okay. You don't need to warn me this early on, game. I am very aware. Alright, there we go. We've got ourselves some igneous rock now. Small amount, but a workable amount. Nope. We can't grab it, though, because it's locked behind the granite. Can this be... Nope, can't reach it. Darn it. Alright. Duplicate skills. You haven't even remotely leveled up enough. Alright. I'm going to have to use wood for ladders then. And we haven't unlocked wood blocks yet, so we can't use those. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Right here is where this ladder should go. There we go. At least it's something for them to do. We are technically burning through our wood supply when we need that, but we should be able to resupply it in short order. We should be able to fix it back. We'll pay it back with dividends. This at least gives them some work to do, and then all the CO2 in this room should flow down here and hit these aloes. And these aloe vera should then handle it. We're going to set all of these to auto harvest. And that way the farmer will come down here and harvest the aloe as it processes. And one of the great things I think about the aloe is that early game, their main use is getting CO2, as we've been over. We're gonna get oh, we're gonna have to, this is a really bad starting portal. Okay, I've been over this before. This is a I'm not going to re-roll this early on. I was thinking about it. We'll just keep the mallow seeds and move on. None of those were good, and we ended up with only 2 people and 2 items. Normally you get 1 item and 3 people choices. And I kind of need people right now, but those people weren't any good. We had a guy who could dig, which we already have, and the guy who could dig has decreased strength, which means he can't carry anything. And then the other one's good at wearing suits. We don't even have the tech for suits yet. And that's the only skill they have. I normally try to get one with suit wearing and then something else, and they become the specialist. Like, suit wearing farmer will then go into the chlorine rooms and stuff like that and, you know, get all of the plants out of those rooms where they're growing. While a mechanical suit wearer might go and run an oil derrick for a while, or an oil rig inside a room that's being held under partial vacuum to keep nat gas leaks out. So that kind of stuff. But those weren't any good. There was no way to really swing those to my advantage. They just end up eating what little food we have and breathing what little air we have. Neither of which are things I want right now. So we go through nighttime again. Ideally, by day 10, I'm hoping to have a few rooms, some basic CO2 reprocessing going, and a little bit better comprehension of the map, because I really need to find a water geyser. It's one of the reasons we went for a geoactive planetoid, is that a water geyser would be... There's one. Perfect! -10... That's almost... That's a fantastic position and a fantastic geyser to find early on. Yes, please. Alright, let's see here. This is where the wood block is, and that's pretty deep in. I don't want to get there. We are not going to get there yet. We don't need basic bathroom tech either, though, because we don't have a spot that's warm enough to do basic bathroom tech. If we try to do basic bathroom tech right now, all we're going to end up getting is a bunch of ice freezing out of the pipes. Good work. Nice job finishing that. So we're just going to keep on drilling down and up. Get a better perspective on everything around us. Fortunately, it looks like there at least aren't any major bodies of ethanol straight down. There's just a little bit, and we can just scoop that up and process it away. Yep, so they just got to keep on working. They just got to keep on going. How's our skills looking? He's nearly there. Okay, good. I was gonna say, if he's not getting there, we're not doing our job right. No snow tiles, please. I would like to save all of the snow, and then we're just gonna process it. Snow is a finite resource. Even if you get to the surface and you start dealing with the packed snow meteorites, the packed snow meteorites do not provide that much snow in them, and snow can be converted into plastic thanks to the new methods. It is a two-step process. We have to break out of this environment and find ourselves a special tree. But then once we find that special tree, we can grow wood off of it, and we can tap the center root for nectar. You pump nectar into a plastic press, it'll produce plastic, just like if you were to press petroleum into it. Ugh. That was a bunch of P words. But it's a lot easier and a lot more low temp for the work. So, early game, in my opinion, a lot better. Nearly done with our research. We're just going to get a bunch of the basic stuff out of the way. We've got the big computer, but we don't have the water boiler yet, which means we don't have any water anywhere right now. We only have ice. What we are going to do, though, is we are going to... Oh, we need to unlock better batteries. Because this battery doesn't output that much heat in the first place. We can output more. Where is it? Utilities? Yep, space heater. Here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to move things around a little bit. They're going to do it tomorrow, but we're going to move those things one block to the left so that we can put the heater in the center, and that will keep all of them in their beds nice and toasty warm. It'll dump a bunch of waste heat into the environment, but the environment is negative 30 degrees, so it can take quite a bit before anything happens, before we end up with any melting issues or anything like that. So we're going to take what we can and do our best with it. We are also going to make more wooden ladders that go straight down. Granted, there's no aloes down there, so it'll just build up with a little bit of CO2, but eventually we'll put the processing down here. The further away from the base we put it, the better off we are, because the aloes are sensitive to temperature, or at least they're sensitive to the temperatures we want the main base area to be raised to in the long term. Space heater. And then we're going to put a cot back. And we're going to put a toilet back. There we go. Now that should keep everybody nice and warm overnight, and it will give them a tolerance against frostbite. Yep, see? Frost resistance. Oxygen pressure is looking a little bit low. Where's a vein? Because normally there's a bunch of oxalate veins around here. There's one. There's a good one. Alright. We are going to go up. And we're just going to tap it. We're just going to touch it lightly. And then let it do the rest of the work. We'll let it slowly aerosolize and just push a column of O2 down and help maintain some pressure. Just like this big bubble up here does. So the huge benefit to these alveoveras, I guess they're called, in comparison to the oxyferns to me, besides temperature tolerance and the fact that they only take ice instead of taking dirt and water, they process the CO2 into oxalate instead of processing it into oxygen. The oxyfern takes the CO2 and just outputs oxygen into the surrounding environment, which if you have enough CO2 pressure, pushes it up, obviously, because CO2 is heavier. But you're relying on gravity, and you're relying on the oxyferns to be close enough to wherever you want the oxygen to go. The alveoveras, once they drop their oxalate, you can just put that in an oxalate sconce, a little box that holds it and lets it air out, and you can put those sconces anywhere. They have a lot more density for oxygen than a lot of the other machinery does too, so I've started using them in rockets as a primary form of giving oxygen to the crew in a rocket for short trips. Obviously, it's not renewable on the rocket, but it works pretty well. And oxalite's also one of the best fuels you can put into a rocket for oxidation. You mix that with petroleum and you get some really good ranges. Not top tier, not liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen levels, but it's the best you're going to get without getting to that level. And that's late game with very advanced materials. So now we're just waiting on the CO2 to disperse. Dude didn't take his bed for some reason, which is weird. But sure. Sure, you can do that. All right. The one guy we need to level up hasn't leveled up yet. Come on now. All right, advanced research. And we'll improve your carrying so that you can just lug stuff around better. You should be leveling up. Happy you're enjoying, Mike. Come on, buddy. You should be leveled up by now. This shouldn't be that difficult. We need rock. We just need basic rocks. You're getting in the way. Just running around like this should be leveling you. What's he doing? Oh, he went back for some resistance. There we go. Off you zoom, buddy. There we go. Extra research complete. Good stuff. There we go. There's Travolta's skill point. Now we can start rolling. Now we can get everything dealt with. Because we can get a floor out from underneath these guys. And with that, we'll be able to actually push forward. We're going to box ourselves in, get ourselves insulated tiles, pull a full insulated environment around us, and then heat that environment until it reaches more survivable temperatures. We're looking for probably like 10 to 20 degrees C. So about a good 50-degree raise on this whole region. We'll pull out a bunch of the ice and actually mine it here. Normally, I avoid mining ice, because when you mine a block, you lose half of its mass. So this block that I'm hovering over right now, 935 kilos, if I were to mine it right now, I'd only get a little bit over 45k, or 450 kilograms. So I'd lose half of its thermal mass, which means that if I'm trying to, like, use the ice to cool something down, bringing the temperature to it, and then taking that coolant liquid back to wherever I'm trying to cool down is twice as energy dense, and I will get twice as much cooling out of the same amount of ice instead of if I were to break it and then carry that ice to whatever room I'm trying to cool down. Oh, we got water. Okay, good. We are going to do something right now then. Stations, supercomputer. Before this water freezes, we're going to use it in the supercomputer. This is a bad choice, but I need them to do it right now. Right now. Go. Build the thing. Because then we're going to use that to research the ice liquefier, and that will allow us to make as much water as we need. Because obviously getting a room hot enough right now and then dropping ice into it to turn it into water would be crazy inefficient and time-consuming. Alright, we're not, I don't want that water freezing. I do not want that water freezing, and everything around here is so cold. It's got a very high thermal capacity, so it probably will take a while for it to cool off, but I'm a little bit worried. But water is surprisingly dense on temperature. It's a very high insulation value. Just like real life. Wow. Yeah, this thing is also outputting a decent amount of CO2. We're going to put another pillar down here that brings the CO2 downwards. That should help disperse some of this, because it is starting to make this area a little bit less hospitable for breathing. Travoldo, buddy. Oh. There we go. All right, we got granite now. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16. There we go. Should be good. All right. Then we put our pillar here. Because this chute will take everybody up and down. And it will also allow this oxalite up here to help disperse down this way. And it will take the CO2 down. And these alveoveras will deal with it for now. We're going to adjust the priority on this stuff just because 9 isn't necessary to make sure it's done. 6 will work just as good, and it's much less intense. So now we just gotta let them cook for a minute. Gotta let them do their things and build everything they need to, replace all the blocks, build a platform. Then once that's done, we'll have them build a platform right above, and we'll start separating things out into rooms. Like so. We're not going to dig up the oxalite, though. We'll let the oxalite just disperse. It will emit its own mass and just eventually stop existing, so we don't need to mine it up. We'll just lose mass if we do that. Sublimation, that's the word. So now we just roll. I am going to also make them set up a ladder right here. This is food, pike apples. They're one of the options for food around here. And these naturally grown ones will aid in making sure we have enough food, especially early on. So we'll set the auto harvest on that and let it go. There's a lot of work to be done, so it's probably going to take a day or two. But we still got plenty of resources overall. We're a little bit low on food. We've only got a day's worth of rations left. But we'll make more. We'll be fine. We'll do fine. All of these hanging things, the sureberries, they are non-replantable sources of food. So we actually have a lot of available food right around us right now. One-time use stuff, but still usable. Still worth it. Still worth the time. This is where the sconce is right there, oxalite sconce. We'll probably go for that next. We'll put some sconces right next to the portal. And that will allow us to keep a better pressure around here. Better oxygen pressure in the main area. Yep, our food quantities went up now that we have access to those pike apples. And we're getting some additional pressure from the oxalite in that room. Good stuff. This stuff needs to be finished, though, please. Oh, we don't have an operator. We need to watch for an operator from the portal. I didn't even realize. Oopsies, I knew I was missing something. It felt too good to be true. Getting 3 people to sustain themselves is normally near impossible a task. There's too much work to be done, especially on the main base. If you're building an outpost on another planetoid or something like that, especially if you're able to depend on other regions or have huge setups on geysers that are fully automated, you can have one person live alone totally fine. It's just not on the main area, not in your primary planetoid. You'll never get anywhere. Also, it's worth noting that if anybody's ever looked at the achievements for this game, they're quite difficult. Most of them require you to have at least 3 living duplicants in the world at the time, because a lot of them require you to have duplicants do, like, multiple duplicants do work or something similar like that. And obviously, it would be pretty easy to cheese it if you just needed 1 around. So, another thing you got to keep in mind. Yeah, they're just working. We don't want to overextend, but we also need enough space to actually build what we need. And we'll put the split here. I was thinking about making this 3 rooms, but we'll make it 2. I normally make them only 2. The first things we're going to set up are proper bedrooms, proper research room, a kitchen, a... what else? Mess hall. And also a bathroom, but we're not going to have the sink be functional because the sink requires access to water. Also, you dum-dums just disabled your own research station. You shouldn't do that. You need that. That is one of the main sources of your survival right now. Fortunately, they cracked this area down here, so there's a bunch of CO2 flowing down, and there's oxygen coming back out. So we're getting better pressures, at least. We need to get rid of that 1 block of snow. It's acting like a little backstop that's holding all the CO2 from going down. There we go. Now it should flow to the right more. Yeah, set those to higher priority so they just get done quick. We're also going to need to set up a farm, I just realized, so we're going to do 1 more floor. And we've run... oh, igneous. That's whatever. We'll just use the other rock then. I thought it was an actual problem. And we'll just mine up a little bit more of this material. And that should give us the rest that we need to finish this basic box. There we go. Cordon off all the rooms with doors so that the room mechanic can utilize them properly. And then we're going to mine the rest of this up, excluding the oxalite blocks. Good stuff. Then we're going to go to farm tile and just... the general rule of thumb is 3 farm tiles per duplicant. So this room should be able to safely feed at least 4 dupes. For now, that room is going to be growing the pike apples, and then as the temperature raises, we will swap those out with hydroponic farms and set it up to actually grow bristleberries. Bristleberries are one of my generally favorite things to grow, and I totally didn't look at the second dupe. What am I doing? I need an operator, Vince. You need to pay more attention. But bristle blossoms are one of my favorite options. How's it going, Waffles? Welcome in. While this processes real quick, we're going to look at something. There we go. My recording software wasn't giving me all the numbers. I have a whole screen dedicated to the display for stream information. Like, on average, the stream drops less than 1% of frames during the entire 3 hours we normally go. Today, we're doing even better, 0.4%. It's fantastic. We love to see it. YouTube's having a good day. I'm having a good day. It's some good stuff. We've been doing all right, Waffles. I've been working pretty hard this week on a new project, and the first attempt at it, the first try, is coming out tomorrow. A new format, a little bit newer of a video style for me. I spent about 30 hours this week just getting the footage, and we ended up using the first 6 or so. So if people like it, there's a lot more meat on that bone, and I'm also working on improving things. Yeah, new project. People who keep up with the channel know that I've been posting a bunch of Satisfactory and Zoochosis on my Fridays. It's because I needed time to cook on some other stuff, too. And I like to make sure that things are blended in pretty evenly overall. Not gonna lie, now that Zoochosis has been rolled out, though, as we just did the final episode of that, of the 3 parts that I was looking to do last Friday, we needed something new to roll in as well. There's a couple of other things that I've kind of missed, though, that I want to roll in later on. Like, Factorio's got a new release, and once I finish my Satisfactory playthrough, I really want to play Factorio 2.0. Either on stream, but most likely in video format, because that game, just like Satisfactory, is long. And I like to edit it down for y'all so that you don't just get to listen to Vince standing for 3 hours while machinery works. How about you, Waffle? How's your life been? Alright, so we're going to make this the bedroom up here. We'll give them quilted cots now, instead of camping cots. Because they're going to be staying up here for quite a while, most likely. We're going to go to utilities, put in another space heater. And I'm not going to be able to tell where the other one should go, so we're not even going to mess with it yet. Because we will put in a second one. We'll probably also set up... But we only need 1 or 2 space heaters in the whole area. Once they have frost resistance, they're pretty much good to go. And keeping them warm in their beds is normally the best practice with limited heaters. I mean, it kind of is pretty obvious when you think about it. Yeah, they spend a decent portion of time in bed, not moving. They, you know, it prevents them from losing a whole bunch of temp. I doubt... I mean, I will say that YouTube is a difficult thing to take on. I wouldn't say it hates anybody, though, specifically. It's just difficult. I shouldn't have worried about that water. It has plenty of temp. I should have never worried about it in the first place. It is still totally fine. There we go. So now we've got a bedroom and a mess hall set up. Then we're going to put a grill right here and turn this into our kitchen. We're going to put an egg cracker in. Oh, interesting. I've never experienced that one before. It doesn't want you to see both. But yeah, O2 pressure is still fine. We're working. We're not perfect yet, but we're getting there. I think we might put the bathroom here. I normally put it underneath, but I don't know. I think we've built up for the most... Well, we might build 1 layer down, too, now that I think about it, because we still need some facilities, don't we? 1, 2, 3, 4... Alright. And then we're going to go over here. We're going to mine out all of that. There's another cool salt slush geyser? Whoa. So, we are not going to ever have any water concerns. We are going to have some temperature concerns. But there are methods for dealing with that. Getting a hold of processed metal should be surprisingly easy for us. I'm going to put in the 4th bed in prep, because we really do need an operator like ASAP. But we're making good progress overall, especially considering the fact that we're kind of dealing with an ice handicap. The Frost world is not easier than the base world, obviously. It's ice. It's all ice. No oxalite in there, so we can just mine it clean through. Good stuff. This is oxygen not included. If you're liking what you're seeing, actually, Waffles, you should keep in mind that it currently is free on Steam for the next day or so. The free trial ends tomorrow, Central Time, Monday. Absolutely love this game. It's probably, in my opinion, it is the best game on Steam. Otherwise, I wouldn't have titled it as such. And then we're gonna dig down. Unlike Minecraft, digging straight down is a standard practice here. And we're just gonna keep on letting them build, because they got a lot of work to do still. Free things are great, and this game, I understand why they make it pay for it, because honestly, I have never had any problems with a game that asks for $20 up front and then gives you everything. Like, no transactions, no anything later on, you know. The DLCs for this game add significantly new features, worlds, mechanics. The first one, the one that was more expensive if I remember right, was significantly more in-depth for how much it added to the game. And then the Frosty Planet pack is a little bit less in-depth, but they made it cheaper. Like, they understand the value of their product, they understand what they're doing, and, you know, they're just making enough money to pay their developers fairly, which I will never fault anybody for. You gotta make your bag. It's gonna be cheaper, yeah. Cheap. I mean, buying it is good. I really do believe that Klei deserves the support. They are one of the few publishers out there right now, and one of the few developer groups out there that I actually still have respect for. There are not many out there that I still genuinely have a lot of respect for, and Klei is at the top of my list. If somebody were to ask me what a good publisher looks like, these guys' publisher. They know how to do things right, and they know how to do things without making an absolute mess of everything. I did bother looking into them to see, like, I got a little bit worried, especially when I got news about Sony picking up, they're considering picking up another studio. And that studio is really well known for coming out with absolute bangers. I forget the name of the studio off the top of my head right now. But the acquisition, or the talks of the acquisition, got me a little bit worried. So I went and did some research into who owns Klei. And they are owned by Tencent. But it seems like Tencent completely keeps their hands off, and it was mostly a move to be more available / included in the Chinese market, which there's quite a few people over there. But it seems like they seem to let Klei, Tencent seems to leave Klei alone overall in the development department, and they just get to do what they've been doing this whole time, which, when it comes to acquisitions, in my opinion, is the best you could ever ask for. When a good company is good, of course they're going to get bought by another company because they're good. The consolidation isn't good for the market, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. At least, you know, they're not changing the entire way that the place works and making things worse, because they've got a great formula. They've got a good rhythm. They come out with ideas and they deploy things when they know that they're good and they like it and it's good. It's right. They don't seem to deploy things before it's right. Also, to be fair, when they have these DLCs in development, there is an experimental branch, at least there was for the Frosty Planet pack, that anybody could fork over to. You just go into your Steam settings and you can actually play the DLC in early access without purchasing it. So another fantastic feature that I think a lot more studios should take note of. You know, just treating the players with basic respect. We've come to the point where that's, you know, top tier. That's worthy of being considered A-list, in my opinion. Yeah, I gave them a lot of orders, so they're still working. They're building. No operators again. Gosh darn it. Catch you later, Waffles. Hope you have a great night. And for anybody else in here right now, I hope you have a fantastic night. If this is your first time popping into the stream, I do highly recommend hitting that like button down below. Right next to it is that subscribe button. We keep things real chill over here. I might be streaming. I'll be streaming for another 2 hours. But we keep things real chill over here. And checking the analytics earlier this week always makes me laugh, because right now, 95.5% of you are not subscribed. Which at that point is just a laughable number. So, if you all want to help out, let YouTube know that we're doing good things over here, right down below. You know, it's like tipping the bellhop. That's the last I'm going to say about it, though. At least until way later in stream. I really need to get some night shift people going, but we also need to have actual food. We need a sustainable and usable source of food. I don't know why the farmer isn't harvesting the crops. Oh, it's because you're researching. Appreciate you, Waffles. We're going to turn down the priority for research, so that instead he'll only do research once the food has all been cooked. And all of the plants have been harvested. Eventually we'll get ourselves a dedicated researcher, and this guy will transition solely over to doing farming and cooking. Because it's really good to have a combo guy, especially since I'm putting the farm and the food right next to each other. And then it'll essentially go straight down. People will grab the farm food, which will then go down and be processed into better food, which will then be eaten on this floor. Keeping things close and keeping them easy to get to. There we go, that's enough food for the day now. I'll also probably want a secondary farmer later down the line because of all the CO2 reprocessing we're depending on. All of the CO2 reprocessing is being done by alveo veras, so we're going to need enough farmers to make sure that they're all tended at all times. Speaking of the alveos, maybe I'll put them like down here, or maybe even a little bit further. Maybe I'll just set them up right here for now. We'll just start farming them near the bottom of the entire base. And then once this oxalate decomposes, we'll actually make a shaft that goes in an angle from left to right. That will coax the CO2 into going in the direction we want it to, and keeping a good pressure above the alveos. That should be big enough that it will allow gas to flow through in both directions, too. Those little slants can be a little bit problematic if they're not at least 3 high for moving gases, because they can get stuck. Alright, keep on going, everybody. You're doing great. And then we're going to set up new outhouses in here, along with a wash basin that we will never use, because this will at least make it a latrine. We're going to uproot this alveo vera so that we can seal the floor. Because we're nearly there. Then I'll have to move a bunch of things around, but basic rig done. And we just keep on rolling with it. We're gonna get ourselves proper rooms, and then we'll be able to just start reaching out and generating more resources. For now, we'll be able to survive off of the stuff that we've mined, but eventually we will transition over to these geysers. Because these geysers will produce an infinite amount of water for us, along with salt. And salt can be refined into sand, along with an extra little condiment we can put on these mess tables. Add a little bit more pizzazz to everybody's meal with some table salt. But the bigger thing, in my opinion, is getting the sand, because the sand can be used for all sorts of conversions. And sustainable sources of sand are pretty few and far between. My best and favorite one is the salt slush geysers. Especially the cold ones, because the cold ones can be used as coolant liquid too. Now we're going to separate this from the rest of the environment. I don't want this touching all of the ice around it, because then it will just slowly creep back in. Obviously, the gases do have some temperature, exchange with them, but they're much lower in mass than the actual solid blocks, so they have a lot less exchange over time. They still will make things colder, but it's less to fight against in comparison to being connected to a brick of ice. Alright, we're going to close the diagnostics menu, because I never use the diagnostics menu. And we are going to set ourselves up with some pike apples. Then we're going to go to the consumables, and we are actually going to turn off consuming basic pike apples. And we're going to connect this into our new grid. Pike apples skewers instead. Higher quality food stuff. Is this out of water? Yep, it's out of water. So we're going to revert back to standard research then and just let the guy do a bunch of stuff. Well, because we do have the... We did get the boiler, right? Yes, we did. Okay. So once we finish retooling everything and once we've rebuilt everything how we like, then I'll set up a water boiler that can be used to generate fresh water for the computer. Yeah, now that they've got a mess hall, though, they should be happier. And then we're also going to teach our researcher how to cook. There we go. That should allow for higher quality meal stuffs and reduce the overall stress of the colony. Pi has gotten herself stuck like an idiot. So now we must construct this to retrieve her. That's where all the water went. They delivered the remaining water to the wash basin. Dum-dums. Well, we disabled it, so that problem has solved itself. We're going to deconstruct this and all the beds. We're also going to deconstruct the ration box, and we're going to put a door right here. This will become the break room. This is going to become the lab. Or this might become a machine room. We'll see. Because we have to put the batteries and the generators somewhere. But if I remember right, this counts as a source of light, so we don't even have to pay the electricity bill for a light bulb in the lab and still get the perks of being in a laboratory. There we go. I don't know if I've explained this before, but the reason I stacked two pneumatic doors on top of each other instead of putting a pneumatic door and then wall is that this allows gas to pass freely from left to right and costs a lot less metal than using the air tiles. The air tiles are in better in situations where you want duplicates to be able to walk over a floor, or you don't want duplicates to be able to pass through two areas, but you want gas to be able to. The pneumatic doors are just a cheaper option for allowing gases to pass through. Because if I had done just the bottom door and then put walls here, hydrogen or other lighter gases could build up in the top here and end up causing problems, and then I'd have to go in and drain them. Instead, by having everything be flat with no lip, all of the lighter gases go up and all the heavier gases will always go down. So I can put processing at the very tippy top and very bottom of the base, and they'll just pull out anything that isn't oxygen. You put a little pump at the very top of the base to pull out any waste hydrogen. You put a little pump at the bottom to pull out mostly CO2 and maybe some chlorine from accidents where you have off-gassing incidents. Again, no operator. What are you doing to me, game? We're going to have them finish the bathroom. And then what we're going to do is prevent them from moving from left to right through these doors, so that they have to go through the wash station. Obviously not functional right now, but when it is functional, want to make sure that it's all set properly. It's good to build the habits now anyways. But there we go. They're all breathing easily. The CO2 is just off-gassing downwards. We're going to get ourselves some sconces. We'll just start with one for now. One in the very center of the base. We'll set it to a decent priority. And what should happen is that any of the alveoveras that are being harvested should immediately be the what am I doing with my tongue today? The oxalate should immediately be moved to that sconce in a more optimal position to off-gas for the entire base. And what we're going to do is we'll set up some airflow tiles right there to help it. We'll put some airflow tiles throughout the area to make sure that the pressure can easily pass between the floors without having to go all the way around. Did you just slip? He just slipped. Wow. Is he hurt? Oh, somebody's starving. That's not good. Harvest this. Harvest this now, please. Oh, there's a bunch of... Oh, I made the mistake again. I set everything to priority 9, so nothing's priority 9. Can y'all just finish the work? It's not that much. I don't know what's I think it's just because there's so few of them in here, and I'm used to having more at this point. But we haven't gotten any of the good stuff yet. We haven't gotten any of the duplicants we actually want with any of the skill sets we actually want. We're going to set that to priority 9, though. Yeah, that's more reasonable. Only a few things set to the highest of priority, and most of them will go away. But yep, there we go. Now it's got oxalate in it. 10 kilos. That's 10 tiles worth of decent pressure gas right there. And it's going up. Now we've got 50 kilos, nearly. But yeah, that should really help add pressure to the whole base. Keep everything above a reasonable level. Insufficient. Yeah. We need to produce 110 kilos of oxygen per day. Well, that's inaccurate, though. Those calculations, especially early games, seem to be inaccurate because they're based on how many tiles you're trying to fill, too, in the main... I don't know how those calculations are done exactly, but they're not purely based on the breadth of the duplicates. Because that number should go down somewhat significantly tomorrow if we don't do a bunch of additional mining. But only time will tell on that front. For now, we just need them to keep working. They need to keep going. They've got heat. They don't have sustainable food, but they have the concept of food. We're going to enable auto harvest on that, and on that. And on... Well, those aren't accessible. This one is, though. And that should fix a lot of the food concerns for the short term. Now we've got food, so nobody's gonna starve. Keep on rolling, everybody. Just get your jobs done. Build the basic base. The basic base is all we need. Super hard digging, please. And yeah, improved carrying is probably the best move. Just to be able to move everything around. And then another thing we should probably do, now that I thought about it, is do some storage. Alright. We're going to start at the top. And we're going to go all the way down and make sure all the basic research is done. We're going to set this to a slightly higher priority so that it can be finished. So that we can start getting the bonuses from it all. Because that is now a mess hall. That is now a latrine. Once that floor is in, this will be a bedroom. It's too big right now. And each of these will provide morale benefits to our duplicants, which means not only can we give them new skills without them having freakouts, but their capacity for difficult times will go up if we don't scale their skill levels. If we keep them pretty basic at their skills, they will be able to handle like absolute travesty and high stress situations and just not freak out about it. Because they've got so many amenities in their day-to-day that they don't care about the inconveniences. Which is really useful for balancing out hostile environments. Which is why we're also going to build a break room. And then I think inside here is where we're going to put the basic power room for now. With just some big batteries. And we'll put in a diffuser. A diffuser in here. We don't have any access to algae yet, but if we find some, that's where we're going to put it. Then we'll deconstruct this. And set that to priority 6. And then we're also going to need to research basic... Yeah, we're going to need to basic, like, the trims. We'll put some pieces of trim on the roof here, because not only do you need a recreation building and a break room, but you also need at least one decor item. And the ceiling tiles don't take any floor space, so they're a pretty easy no-brainer for improving the quality of rooms, along with using space that's normally dead. Normally that space has no purpose in a room like that besides filling out the room's space requirements. So it's a lot better to do it that way and save yourself some floor space instead of making a long, narrow room. There we go. Or a long, low-ceilinged room is actually a better way of putting it, I guess. But there we go. Now this should... Yep, now it's a laboratory, because it doesn't have any heavy machinery in it anymore. That's what we were going for. We're going to set this section to priority 9, and that's going to be turned back to a 5. Because the power network, obviously, is fairly important, especially now that we have pike apples, we need to cook them. We're getting close. We're getting close to a fairly sustainable rig. It'll have to deal with a couple of retools in the near future, like day 100, day 200, if we wanted it to last out multiple, we're talking thousands of cycles or something like that, which I can easily do. I've got another world that I use specifically for achievement hunting in this game. That's thousands of days in. I've got a couple like that. I reload them probably every 6 months, every year or so. I'll make a new world because I want to start from scratch and learn from my mistakes. I don't play this game around the year either. You know, there's months on, months off type thing, but that's pretty much every game in Steam. That's why the ones I throw up for vote are cycled out so consistently too. I like to do fresh stuff. Regality is a constant because Regality is awesome. And that guy right there is locked up there. We need to prioritize some of this stuff higher so that he has a path out. There we go. You can't move still? Why? Oh, this is a wall. There we go. Please remove that wall. Operator, come on! Oh my gosh. Stinky's a researcher, but we could use a researcher, I guess. So fine. And Stinky, I want you researching, and then I want you secondarily tidying, storing, and that kind of stuff. I don't want you participating in build projects, please. Thank you. He's the first of many people who will just be basers, where they don't need to go outside, they don't need to leave the environment of the base unless they're picking up resources and bringing them back. He'll always stay closer to home than the other ones because the building tasks are normally the ones that are furthest out because that's where you're developing most. And the wood heater has not been provided, which is not good. You're going to also be prioritized to life support if you don't mind. Thank you. And then somebody needs to get on the wheel. Somebody get on the wheel right now. Somebody get on that darn wheel and make some power so that the pike apples can be turned into better food and that y'all can be super happy. There you go. You run on that hamster wheel. You run fast. More. No, more. Somebody else is probably running on it now, but everybody's frost resistant again, which is also important, so I can't fault them for that, I guess. But somebody needs to be running on that wheel, and we don't have an operator. Here's the deal. If we don't get an operator on this next printing pod go around, I'm going to re-roll it, because we need an operator if we want to live. We need somebody who's dedicated to just sitting on that wheel and spinning it. Fortunately, we've got enough farm plots now that we can at least make a decent dent in our food needs. We'll still probably have to scavenge a little bit, but not nearly as much as we were. And then we just need to raise base pressure. We can raise base pressure a couple of different ways. The obvious ones are adding more oxygen and adding more CO2, because CO2 in this cycle will just get converted into oxygen via the alveoles. CO2 is going to be the more available option, though, by burning wood and converting wood into ethanol. Those are the two big ways we're going to artificially raise pressure, and then we'll use that raised pressure to just generate large amounts of O2 with the farming down here, which will most likely be expanded to a huge area. Alright, that's some research. Oh yeah, it's still got more, because it's doing medicine. We hadn't touched medicine before this. Yeah, we're not doing good on O2. It's time to tap another one of these regions. And that might have been a little bit overkill on the amount of crisis mode that I put them in, but meh. As long as they live, I'll consider it a win. I also didn't notice that this stuff already completely sublimated, so we're just going to give it another little tap a little connection point where it can start off-gassing. And then we'll let it do its thing. Because there's plenty here to last at least for a few days. And now this is also helping add a little bit more pressure in the middle area. And this might even act as a good CO2 catch right here because of the lip. CO2 produced by this might end up overshooting the ladder and coming down and just getting caught in this little lip here. Not a bad thing at all. I also like the little animations they gave him. It's a nice little design they got. There we go. Free oxalite. Thank you. Free oxalite means more life and more cycles. More cycles before we hit the cascade and the entire colony falls apart. Because that's what this game is all about, is fighting against the cascade that is always bound to happen when you have a human-made system that's imitating nature. Because in nature, there are dozens of different plant species all competing for the same food type. If one of them fails out, the other ones will fill that gap, and the natural cycle, the natural resources will still end up where they need to be. The gases and the carbon and everything else will end up where they need to be in the cycle for things to make sense. If you have a closed system like this, or on a spaceship or something like that that's man-made, you don't have that type of biodiversity. You don't have, you know, millions of tons of whatever resource laying in the dirt that's available in case a plant species dies out due to blight or something like that, and you have a bad year. No, you instantly feel the impact of that stress because it will pull resources from other parts of your system. Or it will just flat out cease working, which will then require you to work on other redundant systems, which are then overstressing other parts. For example, if you only have one water source, and that water source goes dormant, you might end up stressing out 3 or 4 different systems that originally were using that water or the byproducts of that water, where you convert that water into oxygen, and then the oxygen turns into CO2 by breathing, and then that CO2 supplies another system with crucial components, or crucial resources. Just because you run out of one resource doesn't mean you have to watch out for just that one resource. You have to watch out for every single other thing. It's a huge stack of dominoes. Please cook faster. Please cook faster. Now. I said cook. You need to work. And we need power for it to work. Yeah, we just need to fend this off for a minute real quick while everything restabilizes and we finally finish building the actual, you know, base. Then once we've got room to work with, we can do stuff. Speaking of which, we're going to go into refinement. No, stations? Utilities. Yep, there it is. And we're going to put that liquefier right there. I don't know if that counts as a machine. I hope it doesn't. I hope we don't lose our laboratory perk, but we'll see. Because keeping that close would be nice, especially since keeping that in the middle of the base means a little bit more heat distributed evenly. Same reason I wanted to keep the batteries here. Or at least close. But we should be producing a decent amount of food now. Those pike apples eat phosphorite. That's the only thing they consume is phosphorite, and the temperature has to be cold enough for them to work. So, as long as we keep a decent supply of that, we should have all the food we need. I know everybody's freaking out and it's not a good time, but we need to generate a small surplus of food if you don't mind. Just a small surplus. Maybe a day's worth of rations. Oh, yep, we still have our laboratory bonus. Awesome. So then we're going to set this water liquefier up. And that will allow us to start doing the advanced research again without having to worry about portal drops for water. We now have a sustainable source of water, period. Not that we can use it in piping yet. The environment is still far too cold, but progress. Slow progress. We've got oxygen slowly seeping into the base from that oxalate up there. We're not getting too much CO2 buildup. I do want this tunnel to get more finished. Free wood. Nice. And then we're going to turn this back down to normal priority so that they can stop freaking because they've got enough food now. Good stuff. Just keep on working, little ones. You're going to get there. I think in lore, these things, these little duplicants, they're not humans. They're duplicants. That's a very specific distinction they give them. But also, I don't think, like, this is all human height. If I remember right, this is, like, ant scale or, like, tiny in the lore of it all. It's that it's all really small. It's been a while since I've reflected on any of that, as I mostly just play the game, but I could be wrong. We're nearly done with the tunnel, which is good. I just want them to finish this stuff down here, because then we can start the actual, the planned reprocessing. Right now, we're just running on natural plants. Plants that were, you know, already planted down, and they only work at a quarter the speed of the ones that are grown. We don't have any operator here. All right, this is how you re-roll. You save the game, you load the game with the portal just there. It'll then give you new options. There is still no operator here. So we're going to do that again. Because I need an operator. I've used this trick more than once for achievement hunting as well. Like, you need specific drops on day 30 in order to get the carnivore achievement. If you want to do it while maintaining sanity and not having 1,000 dupes in your place, the only way you can effectively farm that much meat is to get shove voles. And shove voles, if I remember right, will show up in the portal on day 32, like they have a chance. It's usually one of the best days to start dealing with them too. Come on! Give me something, almighty portal. Give me somebody worth working. We're gonna do one more. And then I'm just gonna take it. Because this is ridiculous. Normally this is ridiculous. Normally we get, there we go. No excavation ability, I don't care. Hello, welcome to the colony. You will not be building. You will not be digging. You will be operating at your maximum priority. Good luck and Godspeed. Fresh beds. One for her and one for anybody who follows her. In case we end up getting one more. I doubt we're going to get one more right now, but it's possible. But that should be the basic team assembled now. We're going to adjust priorities real quick. Researcher is going to, yeah, you're going to chill out with that. Duplicant skills, you are going to get advanced research, and you are going to get operating. Yep, there we go. And now things should be going much more smoothly. We can kick things up a notch. Oh, there's a lot of oxalate up here. Good, okay. We're just going to build a small shaft, small ladder shaft up. So that we can start tapping all those. And as they sublimate out, new ladders will be made visible that they can then go mine and place down. Which will just slowly creep upwards. Should generate us plenty of O2, and it's just going to add a bunch of pressure to the top. hopefully make its way downwards. That one sconce is doing work, though. It's keeping this entire area above unbreathable. And then they just need to finish this, and we'll have... Because that should fix all of our gas problems in the short term. In the long term, we have to produce our own oxygen. Like, we'll have to. We're going to set up water distillation, which will then do electrolysis. So we'll turn the salty water into clean water, and then clean water into... We'll split it into oxygen and hydrogen, and then we'll take the hydrogen, we'll burn that in a generator to fuel the electrolysis process. It can actually be net positive if you do it right, using gravity to sort things. It can be really, really beneficial. And then the oxygen will be pumped into the base to maintain pressure, along with, at that point, we'll probably have atmosphere suits. So then we'll use the atmosphere suits as well to go into environments that are more inhospitable and just provide oxygen directly to the dupe instead of pressurizing the entire area. Now, what did that just finish researching? Ah. One more there, and then we're going to go back to some of the more advanced stuff. But as you can see, the way the game starts is somewhat different. Obviously, you're still focusing around research, you're still doing mining and everything like that, but you need wood, you need to get different resources on this planet in order to survive, and there's completely different loops you depend on for food, oxygen, all the fun stuff. Even the ways you make ethanol and plastic are different here. Well, not the ways you make the... Well, there is now a way to organically produce ethanol. There used to... You could only use a machine previously. Now there's an animal. A spigot pup, or a spigot seal, if left around the tree I was talking about earlier that gives that nectar, it will eat some of the branches, and in exchange, it will output ethanol onto the ground. Kind of similar to the way that the... What are they called? Slicksters. The slicksters will absorb CO2 in the air around them and then output crude oil in very low quantities. Kind of a similar method, but they have to be around the tree. The seals. I'm not going to lie, my favorite animal is the mammoth. Hands down, the mammoth is the best animal. You feed them plume squash plants, which you feed ethanol, so it's a pretty easy, just straightforward ethanol into the plume squash. Plume squash is a great plant because if you have extra, you can make squash fries, and squash fries are crazy good on the calories, like 16,000 calories per serving, so they can feed multiple people per plant grown. And if you feed it to the mammoth is the only animal, in my opinion, that competes with the shovel for meat per animal. It produces an insane amount of meat. It has a crazy long lifespan, so if you want to grow them and, you know, keep them, it takes a long time to get a decent number of them up. But once you have them, crazy supply of meat. Crazy good. So now we just get ourselves a little bit further on. We gotta progress. All the basics have been done. We've used up a bunch of the oxalate here, so we're going to tap a new vein. And we're just gonna keep her going. Oh, I didn't realize these didn't have auto harvest on. There we go. That'll be better for us in the long run. We probably want to explore this and take a peek at it. This abyssalite is pretty much useless since there's nothing connected to it, so we'll just mine straight through it. Normally I like to go around the stuff, but this doesn't provide any actual insulation because it's 5 blocks tall. It's useless. So we're just going to tunnel right on through that and see what that building is on the other side there. Now we're going to start more advanced forms of research. That'll get us a bunch of distillers, the algae distiller, the ethanol distiller, and the water filter. That's why I was beelining for it earlier. And then we'll do more of the other standardized research, because all this water ice liquefier takes is wood. Takes wood and ice. And boom, it makes water. And it keeps it at temp inside of itself so it doesn't lose temp rapidly. Very helpful. Very, very helpful. One of the other things we haven't found yet is one of those trees. So we do need to break out of this biome and find one of the biomes that has trees. There's rust over here. Is there another biome around here that's got rust, or should we tunnel straight there? Because rust will solve our oxygen problems for a much longer period of time. Let's go take a look. Let's go take a look. These phloxes are also a source of wood, but they require phosphorite. So unless I want to start getting myself in a big old circle where I need more and more and more phosphorite, I need to diversify where I'm getting my resources from. Because they are fed on these plants, on these pike apple bushes. So they work in a group together, very similar to how Drecklets or Dreckos will feed on mealwood and other similar plants around, and then that will allow them to grow their scales. These ones allow them to grow their antlers, and then you shear their antlers for wood. And then they grow back again. But I'd prefer to have just tree, if I'm being honest. Trees are much more consistent. And while they do require snow, and snow is a fixed resource, I have quite a bit of it right now, so it won't hurt to use a bunch. Oh, these are out of... Oh, I never set the priority back for these to be more important for the tidier. Because those need to be cleaned out. Fortunately, one of the benefits of this world is that accidents don't matter as much. Like, right around here, things are finally warming up enough, just barely, that this is staying liquid. But in most places, the accidents just instantly freeze. They just instantly freeze, and then all of the germs die because they can't survive on polluted ice. They can only survive on polluted water. There we go, that research is done. Bottle filler. Oh, that's one of the new things they added. Automatically stores piped liquids into bottles for manual transport. I'm interested with why they keep on focusing on those mechanics, because in my opinion, pipes are just superior in every way. Once you set up pipes, you don't need dupes to move things around. I don't know why dupes would be better. I cannot figure out a situation where dupes would be better, because at the end of the line, whether it's piped or whether it's, you know, done by hand, almost all machines need resources piped into them, which means at the end of the line, you're going to have another machine that receives the bottled stuff and puts it into the pipe. Why would you spend all the work to pipe something into a machine that turns it into a bottle, carry that bottle across the map, and then put it into another machine that turns it back into the pipe, if you can just pay once for a pipe that goes from point A to point B? I don't think that makes sense. Just my personal hot take. I think that's the coldest take I've probably given in a while. But it just doesn't make any logical sense to me as to why that would be better. There we go. That should be enough rust for us. And then we have a rust deoxidizer. So what we're going to do with this is we'll put it near the bottom, actually. Ideally, then, the chlorine will go down instead of raising up into the base and irritating people's eyes. And this should help raise the gas pressure in the base significantly. This is as good as an algae diffuser, or an oxygen diffuser. It's as good as that for the most part. It produces a similar amount of O2 and can run at a similar clip. It works in a similar manner in that they just bring the material, stock it up, and then it runs for a long time. One of the downsides to the rust deoxidizer, though, is that it drops iron on the ground around it. If you don't pick up that iron, eventually it builds up enough that it will turn into a block and then stop the machine from working. So you gotta make sure that you're picking up after yourself, because otherwise it'll become an absolute mess. Hey, free oxygen. Look at that. Well, he's destructive and biohazard. You know what? This guy's terrible. I'm happy we compromised on the last one, because that guy's... he's an operator in name alone. He's not dependable. He wouldn't work well. Like, oof. And he costs extra energy just to keep happy because he needs a light while he sleeps. Bro needs a night light. And then once we get these storage bins, we're going to set everything in this base to be swept up and tidied. That should also significantly improve duplicant morale, because right now this whole place is disgusting. Look. All that dark red, those are areas that are really low in decor and are like depressing to the duplicants to be around. You don't want to be around that. You want to clean it all up and make it nice for them. Clean floors, no mess. What we'll do with this one is we'll make it the seed storage. All of the different plant seeds can be hauled up there and stored there in case we need them for anything. We'll make like 5 or 10 of them specifically rock, like 3 to 5 of them filtration material, which is sand, and we'll make a couple of them metal, and then we'll have a bunch for like odds and ends specific storages. In my experience, it makes it easier to figure out what you're overstocked on and if you need more storages for the stuff or not. If you make one universal storage type and then distribute it across all of the storage containers, it can get confusing. I've done it many times and it does work, but it can get confusing when you get to the late game and things get big. And you're dealing with hundreds of tons of materials. And why isn't this done yet? Do this. Clean them. They're not set to a high enough priority, or there's just too much work to be done right now by the tidier. Probably a little bit of both if I had to take a guess. But there, problem solved. Probably going to set up a bunch more machinery down in this section now. Now that I've already decided that that's what this is going to be. Might as well. A bunch of these machines just generate a lot of waste heat. So it's good to put them in... It's good to put them somewhere nearby the base, but not where it's going to be a huge inconvenience. Yeah, I think I'll set up the distiller. No, I won't set that up in here, but I will put the kiln in here, because that generates a lot of heat, too. Because I just want to dump heat into this general region. Not yet. I want to pack a little bit more insulation between me and the surrounding ice biome. But once we've done that, then yes. We'll want to just continually dump heat into this until it has enough retained heat that it can, you know, fight off the outside for a while. Probably put some radiators in the back, like radiator pipes in the back wall that just circle round and round and carry liquids to equalize temperatures between hot spots and cooler spots nearby the doors. We're just about to get to the rust, and there's plenty over here. We'll be thriving for quite a while off of this. There we go. Not to mention all that iron will be great. Cinnabar is alright, but like I said, you can't reprocess it into a solid refined metal. It turns into mercury when you put it into the metal refinery, which is a liquid, which is not useful. And even if you were to freeze it back down to solid mercury can't even handle the temperatures around us right now for the most part. It'll still turn back into a liquid, which means you'll just have buildings that love to melt at the slightest temperature adjustments. Iron is much more reliable for this type of world. Much more dependable. That'll do good. Alright. We just let them cook a little bit. They're doing a great job, though. More research? Yes, please. Get ourselves hydrogen. Get ourselves the smart batteries. Couple other things. At this point, we're well ahead of the cascade. So it shouldn't, knock on wood, catch up on us. We should be able to take the opportunity to advance our research and get ourselves pretty far ahead. Now's the time to capitalize. Speaking of which, there's a couple pieces of housekeeping we still need to do. Like putting those in. And then, what else? There's a couple other things we unlocked that I do need to handle. We're not going to use the farm station because that takes fertilizer. And fertilizer just results in us having to do more loops. I normally skip that loop entirely when I can. Refrigerator, yep, we need one of those. It'll keep the food at the optimum temperature to prevent it from decaying. And it will produce a little bit of off heat. Which, the more off heat we can produce right now, the better off we are. Because we are still very chilly. We've gotten a good 10 degrees warmer-ish around here. But generally, we are still very cold. Everybody's unlocked some skills. That's good. Yeah, we'll upgrade your grilling, because you do not need to worry about research anymore. And you've reached as far as you can with carrying, so let's upgrade your construction abilities. And for now, we'll just set it to all. It's not like we have that much food stuff around. Eventually, we'll be more selective with what goes where and into what of multiple refrigerators. Right now, that is not even remotely on the dossier. So we've got ourselves a latrine, which will be turned into a washroom. We've got ourselves a mess hall and a kitchen. We should probably set ourselves up with a hospital. I'm thinking about keeping some mammoths, but we should probably do that outside of the main area that we're working with. So I'll just keep one of these rooms empty, and we might keep a different type of animal in there later down the line. And by might, I mean almost definitely. Now we need... what is it all? We're gonna need medicine. We'll hook up the apothecary in here because we got space. Sick bay. Then we'll go over to furniture. We gotta put one mess hall in there. Or not a mess hall, a mess table. Then we gotta go over to plumbing and get ourselves a lavatory and put that in. Ba-boom! Then we lock this door, or prevent access on this door, so that they can only go in and out through where the wash station is. Very similar to the latrine with its wash station. And we've gotten all the rest we need now, so this should be... oh, it's not going to be running yet because we haven't finished constructing the wires. Finish the... oh, I see why. They kind of limited themselves out of here. There. Take advantage of the fact that they can hop over every other tile and just make a short little jump setup. Shouldn't take them too long, and then once that's done, we will actually have the rusty oxidizer running, and O2 pressure will raise quickly. Very quickly. These oxalite deposits have done exactly what I said they would, and they've kept us alive long enough to fix this for more sustainable, much more sustainable period. There we go. Alright guys, just fill it up with rust, and you'll be breathing easy. Between that and the CO2 reprocessing, we should have more than enough oxygen. Way more than enough. We could do a rapid expansion and still have plenty of O2 to maintain pressure. But instead, we're just going to let them finish the rest of their construction work, because they're not done yet. They still have more to do. Oh, that's right! It's not only rust that this machine runs off, it's salt, too. It's salt, too. Oh, no. Okay. I thought... Can you tell I'm a little bit scatterbrained today? It's alright. We'll make it happen anyways. We're already close enough to this that we should just be able to set up a pump and run a pipe out, and we'll run a power wire in, and we'll set up the simplest desalinator this world has ever seen. I'm thinking about what I want to do with the water once I've made it, because I don't have anywhere to put water right now without it just freezing straight out of the pipes. So I think I might want to capitalize on that, actually, and set up a system where I try my best to actually freeze the water right as it's about to, right before it freezes out of the pipes. Normally I'd use some more advanced machines for that, but I don't have them unlocked and I don't have plastic yet. So I'm debating whether it's feasible to set up a loop that essentially saps the heat from the water and puts it into the base, or if I should just, I don't know, make a pool. Make a really warm pool. Because what I could do is I could just put an output right down here. Like, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to put an output right down here, and we'll just pour near boiling water down here. We'll slurp up the salt water, convert the salt water into clean water to get the salt out of it, and then we will heat that water, or we'll heat that before we put it through, though. We have to. It's all over the place. Apologies. Hit like for no sleep, gang. Not no sleep, but not enough sleep. Not enough sleep, gang. Unite. Alright. We'll run the power wire over there, like I said. Nope. One higher. Yep. There we go. And then refinement. No. It's utility. No. Do I not have the salt refiner yet? I don't. More research. And I set this all to too high of a priority, didn't I? Yup. Calm it down. There's other stuff that needs to be done first. We need to finish a whole bunch of research before that's priority 9. But yeah, we'll refine. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take in the super cold salt water. We're gonna run it through a metal refinery, which will raise its temperature probably up to like 40 degrees if we're lucky. Then we'll run that 40-degree water straight through the desalinator. The desalinator will then pull the salt out and output a bunch of fresh water. That fresh water will immediately start losing its temperature. We will, as quickly as possible, outlet it into this region, where it will refreeze into ice. But it will exchange a bunch of its heat with this block. Ideally, over time, slowly heating it. And if not, at least it will make a nice big old block of ice here. It'll make a nice big block of ice in this biome here. And then we'll just move somewhere else and make another block of ice. Eventually, way later down the line, we can just reliquefy all of it, you know? We'll just heat up the region and boom, get 100,000 kilograms of water. Like that. Yeah, I forgot that the rusty oxidizer takes salt too. But that also makes sense. Where else is it going to get the chlorine that it outputs from? Rust doesn't possess chlorine. Rust is iron oxide. You get the iron back, but where does the sodium from the salt go? Sodium isn't in the game, so... Just like somebody earlier on in chat was talking about nitrogen. Nitrogen would completely brick this game's mechanics because of the way that gases work. It would make this like near impossible because of nitrogen's close molecular weight to, or atomic weight to oxygen. And because the molecules are paired just like oxygen molecules normally are, they have very, very similar weights. It would take a very long time for me to separate a column of nitrogen and oxygen out from each other. CO2 by comparison is significantly heavier. I think it's 25% heavier or something like that. No, that's wrong. It's higher than that. I'm not doing the math. It's Sunday. I don't care. But CO2 is significantly heavier than the surrounding O2 because it contains a whole extra carbon. What? I know, shocking news. Alright, we're going to do field research for you. And you are going to get super hard digging so that you can mine through even more difficult terrains. We're going to put a ladder right here. And we'll go take a peek behind that security door once we unlock it. These doors have to have a duplicant walk up and press their hand against it for it to work. Alright, good stuff. Just keep on working. Finish all that important research. Oh, I didn't do my normal. I set all of my duplicants normally to always have toggling as a max. Toggling is only done when you come up and click the disable button on a building or something like that. So it's very rarely ever used, but normally you want a pretty quick response to it because you're doing something specific, especially if that machine is on auto run and you're trying to turn off like a desalinator. If it's overheating, you want them to turn that off pretty darn quick. So you set that to max for everybody. Research complete. Cool. Now we're researching the metal refinery. And I just realized that it would be really stupid of me actually to connect this to my grid. Because of the amount of power it's going to take, it would be much, much more recommended that I separate it completely. Deconstruct you. We'll just do the whole line, or most of it. That was a mistake on my end. I didn't think that one through. Alright, we put that there. Set that up there. And then we'll put solid flooring under you. The rest of this is also solid blocks, so I don't need to worry about it melting away. Which is pretty much my only concern right now, is that it will melt away on me. Yeah, O2 pressure is low. We are going to up it a little bit while we can. There we go. That should solve all of that for us. Two big batteries are not nearly enough, but I don't know exactly where I'm going to place some of the stuff on the other side. So I'll probably put more batteries over here once I have that sorted out. You are really taking your sweet time to research this, buddy. You need to do better than this. Everybody's depending on you. The survival of the entire colony depends on you. There we go. Sometimes when you click it once, they don't respond, so I have a bad habit of spamming. Inspect these, get myself a little bit of extra research for later game. Yep, thank you. And then we'll make 10 frost buns. Free food. Sleet wheat will most likely be one of the things we go for as our long-term food solution too if we don't end up... Well, we'll use bristle blossoms, we'll go for sleet wheat, and then we'll probably go for lettuce. Because if we get lettuce, sleet wheat, and meat, I believe those are all the ingredients necessary for Frost Burger, and Frost Burger is top-tier food. Top-tier food. I will say they did a good job adding other food types, though, with the new stuff. Why are you starving, Travoldo? Oh, it's because your priorities are bad. He's prioritizing warming himself up first before grabbing food. It's not that we don't have food. Free sand? Free sand. We're going to set more people to having tidy as a slightly higher priority because they are not fixing the bathroom problem. I should probably just get a tidier, but we don't have the O2. Full stop. We just don't have the O2 to afford that right now. Looking all this over, I can't rush it. I gotta just let them work. If I add any more, they're just gonna go slower on top of things. They're already going slow because of the fact that they have so much on their plate. Yeah, this is off-gassing pretty aggressively. What I'm going to do is I'm going to widen this channel so that the O2 pressure can push through faster. Because it diminishes pretty quickly. Probably because of this bottleneck, if I had to guess. Go faster, please. Thank you. There we go. That'll fix. How hot is that polluted water? How warm is it? Can you please stop telling me different stuff? Stop moving. Okay, negative 23 degrees. It should freeze. It should freeze solid. I like how the stuff in the middle froze because there was ice there, but this stuff hasn't had enough heat transfer yet, so it's still liquid. Ooh, there's an anti-entropy thermal nullifier up here. You feed this thing hydrogen, and it will create cold. It's a decent trade. I don't use them often. I normally use heat deleters instead, because heat deleters just require power, and power is a lot easier to flexibly create than large amounts of hydrogen on demand, especially since hydrogen can also be used as rocket fuel. But they are good. They do work well. They just don't work well for my builds. Generally. Normal playstyle doesn't really need them. Alrighty, how's the research coming? We're nearly there. Good. We've nearly got the smelter done, and then once the smelter is done, we just research the salt refiner, and boom. Infinite salt for the base, infinite O2, or not infinite O2, we still have to mine the rust, but there should be a decent amount of rust in this rock before we have to deal with another alternative method, and by that point we should be refining so much water into oxygen that we don't need to worry about it anymore. This should be the stopgap we need. But only time will tell us for sure. Because I already made the mistake of not having salt for it. And normally this environment has salt in it, but it looks like it's without. We make do. Alright, you need to stop this. You need to do this, and you need to do this now. Get the research done, buddy. It's important. There's only so much O2 in this enclosed system right now. We only can make so much. We're not generating fresh stuff. We need to. Suffocating? Where? What? We're not that strapped for O2 yet. We will be soon, though. We burned through over half of this vein. It goes fast. Especially considering that its density in solid form is usually pretty low. You know, like 70. A little bit less than 70 kilogram. It's not like it has the greatest density in comparison to a lot of the other rocks. There we go, desalinator. I normally don't need a smeltery this early on in the game, and the only reason I'm making one right now is not because I want metal, but because I need something that will superheat liquid effectively. Normally that's a byproduct, not the goal. Kind of a little bit cart backwards. I like it. There we go. And then if I remember right, it's going to be like this. And then this will loop over and go into there. And then we just need to get the desalinator, put it on that, put it on those input outputs of those two pipes. And then we'll put in the extra batteries like that. And this whole rig then will be running on a separate little juice setup in comparison to the actual base. This system's juice, if it runs out of energy, will not cause the entire base to flatline, turn off oxygen production, turn off food and food preservation, all those important things, and research. We don't want all of that being messed with because of the amount of power demand that this stupid setup takes. Speaking of which, I just realized that that wire is not big enough. It's not fat enough to take what we're about to do to it. It would have just immediately started burning. Now this is kind of a waste, but I don't want to put a transformer in, so we're just gonna... Yep, perfect. Oh, I think the blueprint didn't take power wires. Here we go. I just said... Okay, game. I see you. I see how it is. We'll redo it. That's alright. I've dealt with worse. I've dealt with much worse. Okay. And then we will heavy watt wire all the way over here. And then metal refinery goes back there. Boom. Put our jumbo batteries back in. And that's everything redone again. Hooray! Alright. At least we didn't have to redo the counts for anything. That's good. I'll take it. And then while that guy's finishing up all the research, all the other stuff should get constructed. We'll set them to the same priority so our researcher doesn't end up reprioritizing himself to not do research. Where did he go? There he is. Just disappeared off my view for a second. Alright, off you go, my dude. Now I could launch somebody else. I could make a pillar that goes all the way down to here, launch somebody to the other planetoid, and start colonizing the other planetoid. Considering the amount of instability I currently have in the base, I'm not gonna do that. There's not enough actual resources here to start sending it to another base to foster it while it actually develops and grows, especially with limited staff. So instead, I'm just going to focus on this one today, probably. If we get in a really good position before the end of this hour, I might launch one more guy out and we'll see what the other biome looks like on the other place. It normally looks like the starting world that you start in the base game. If it is consistent, because again, I've only played one other world with this DLC on. Got really far in it, but only one, and that won't show me all of the opportunities or roles that are possible. Regardless, most of the planetoids besides Winteriol, or whatever they, this one's called Winteriol. They give it a different name, or they have a bunch of different names from a list for every single time you load in, so it can have different stuff. There's only this world, and maybe one other, but there are like 3 or 4 new biomes, and a bunch of new plants, and a bunch of new animals, or 3 new animals. Full cycles. It's pretty, I still think it's pretty decent. I will hold to that point. Klei makes good games. Klei makes solid games. They made Don't Starve. They made this. They made The Floor is Lava. They make solid games through and through. We're going to choose the Pipsqueak. We don't have any of this animal yet, and just keeping one around would be really useful. Because pips allow you to grow natural plants. They can pick up seeds and then plant them in the ground naturally, which, while reduced output, means that you don't have to feed them any resources while they work. Come on, man. Finish your work. You're so close. You're so close. There we go. Refinement. Desalinator. Boom. Priority. Super high. Everybody freak out and get this done. You need oxygen. And this machinery is how you're going to get it. In a kind of roundabout way, because this machinery all just makes salt. It makes infinite salt. As long as it's got a place to dump the hot water. Which, considering everything is cold, anywhere will do. I guess I could even dump the hot water back in this pit and then slurp it back up again and continue. But then I wouldn't be able to generate as much salt. Because I would have water passing through the system and it would just go straight through the desalinator doing nothing. It would cost less power. But I'm not trying to be power efficient. I'm trying to make a resource that I don't have in any other way. They managed to hollow everything out, so we don't need that ladder there. Just keep going. Come on. I know O2's slim. That's why you got to do this. That's why you need to finish the job. I normally put reservoirs in between this stuff too. Buffers that hold large amounts of liquid, so the smeltery can run while the desalinator is still chewing through the previous amount. Don't even have the tech for that, I don't think. Nope. I do not. I'm researching it right now. But we'll rebuild all of this at some point. That is if we load back into this game. For any of you who are not familiar with how the channel works, I do a vote every single week to determine what I'm going to be playing on the weekend for stream. So this was voted for by the subscribers this last week, and next week will be another vote. I don't do repeats, so Oni will not show up on next week's vote, but it can very easily show up on the following week's vote. So if y'all like what you're seeing, be sure to let me know, let YouTube know, hit that like button down below. Alright, now we are going to iron ore. Let's make 2 tons. 2 tons of raw iron, or refined iron. At the end of the day, it's just a means to an end here. Yeah, the O2 is getting real slim around here. Only 3 yellow alerts left. Come on. 2 of them are ladders. You can finish this. Come on. You're so close, Travoldo, buddy. You're so close to finishing the work. It's the last thing. And then this just needs to be run on. And we'll be good to go. All of this machinery requires operators. Operator run the wheel, operator to run the metal refinery, operator to empty the desalinator. But this should do it, as long as they finish the work. Oh, we ran out of O2 to pressurize with. There's not enough in there to actually open. It's not worth opening that for the minuscule amount we would get back. Instead, we will mine out this. And that will set us up well. Now we just charge up the batteries and run the refinery. One pass through, well, we're going to need to do a couple passes probably because we need to get the desalinator full so that it can be empty. So, definitely a good idea to continue this section up here, because we're going to need additional pressure to finish the job. I'm happy we had that extra, because otherwise, when I realized we didn't have salt, we would have been done. That would have been it. We would have been through already. But no. We had just enough starting stuff to get ourselves everything else we needed. Now we just need to pressurize. Oh, cold damage. That's... Wait, cold damage? Oh, it's so cold up here that the salt is breaking, or that the salt water is freezing out of the pipes. That's not good. Well, it'll fix itself shortly. Once the hot water gets out into these pipes, it just needs enough power, and they need enough air to get that done. There we go. And now that should be, yep. What's the temperature of this output water? Only 13 degrees? I was expecting it to be far hotter. Okay, that's good with me. It'll just hit it'll hit the ice down here and immediately turn into ice. See? It's just making a bunch of tiny ice piles. I'll take it. It's an effective way of generating early game ice so that we can keep the alveoveras going. But that also requires them to finish this final section of ladder, which they refuse to do. What's the freezing temperature of brine? Freezing points is negative 22. That's why. Okay. It was nearly. This is nearly a frozen block of salt water. This is very close to being a. Oh, this is brine ice. It actually is in the middle of a phase change to frozen salt water. That's how close it is. Jeez. Yeah, we'll just raise the temp, though. We'll dump a bunch of heat into this region, and it should get things... We just need things to go up like 2 degrees. We just need this region to go up like 2 degrees, and then the pipes will stop being frozen like that. Yeah, just keep on running on that wheel, please. That's what we need. We need power going in here. As much power as possible. I don't think we have access to any coal. Otherwise, I'd just burn coal to do this. Let's check, just to be sure. I don't think we do. Nope, we haven't even found coal yet. Wait. We can use a wood burner, can't we? Yep. Better than that, we're going to keep that, and we're going to add the wood burner on top. It's not efficient. Not even remotely efficient. But it will supplement a significant amount of extra power so that we can get this area warmed up. I think it'll be as much as somebody spinning on the wheel, and if it runs at all times, then we will be much better off. We do have a finite amount of lumber, but 13 plus tons is not little. Should be enough to get us more than where we want to be. More than well off the ground. There we go, yep. Fantastic. Generating a lot more power now. Or will be in a moment. Keep this thing fueled. There you go. Did a pipe break? No. Oh, the output was full for a moment. That happens. How much salt do you have collected now, buddy? You won't tell me. Wait, that's in the properties. That's why you won't tell me. 240 kilos. Good. Like 24 cycles or something like that with the deoxidizer. Come on, buddy. Just keep working. Hopefully tomorrow we can finally turn on the deoxidizer and then build pressure. If we had access to a small amount of like crushed eggs or lime, we could actually make steel right now. And I think this is some of the earliest I've ever made steel before cycle 4. Like being able to make steel before cycle 40 is kind of whack. I think my record before this was 41. Something like that. Unless I'm forgetting where we got, how far we got last stream, or we did it faster than I think we did. Please fix that pipe, sir. And go run the machine. Both of these things are very important. There we go. That was a delivery for the repair. There we go. There's the repair. And now we just let this thing process. I forget how much salt has to build up before it needs to be emptied, but whenever it gets there, that'll be our saving grace. That'll be our saving day. Because just a little bit of salt to mix with all this rust we've got. They really are slow on the building, though. Jeez. Again, I think it's just our low numbers. And low oxygen pressure. That's not helping. Alrighty, keep on zooming. We haven't had any food problems since that happened, which is good at least. Oh, fertilization though. I'm gonna make the farmer not be able to operate. No building, no digging, no operating. There we go. Welcome back, Landon. That's not a hard one to guess. How's it going, buddy? We've started a new colony in the ice world, and things are going pretty darn solid, I would say. We're nearly to the point of a good stopgap for oxygen. We've nearly got all of our food self-sustaining at this point. We are in a little bit of crisis mode with this region, but that's only because everything keeps on freezing and then breaking out of the pipes because of how cold it is. Also, in case anybody's wondering, I mentioned earlier, metal mercury can be turned into a liquid and is liquid at room temp in this game, and is in real life too. But you can't put mercury into the smeltery. It will immediately boil out when it tries to leave the exit pipe. Like, it doesn't seem to matter what temperature it's at. Even if it's at near freezing for its frozen temperature, you put it in, its thermal conductivity is so high that it just tries to boil out immediately. And its thermal conductivity is so high, and its capacity for heat is really low. It doesn't take a lot of energy to raise a kilogram of mercury up to melting or boiling temp, especially in comparison to the amount of energy it takes to raise water to that same temp. Ooh, 40. That is pretty cold out there in Texas. I'm up in the more northern states, so I really enjoy the cold. So, until it gets to, like, the temperature where if you go outside, your face just starts to instantly freeze, and I'm talking, like, frostbite in under 2 minutes, that's when I start getting a little bit upset. You know, the -30s with 30-mile-per-hour gusts of wind. That's when it gets unpleasant. I always buy front wheel or all wheel drive cars though. You do not buy rear wheel drive cars for, you know, year rides around here. If you want it as your daily driver, it's got to be front wheel or all wheel. Cuz that snow stacks high. Ooh, y'all went hunting? That's awesome. It's a great I think it's a good family activity personally. I will be taking 3 days of vacation this upcoming week to go spend it with my family up at the cabin, up at the one of my family members' cabins. It's a great opportunity to go see them. Chances I'll go out to the woods, yeah, pretty low. I'll most likely be spending most of the time with the fam. I got a big family. There's a lot of people to talk to. Oh, your brother and dad. I misread that at first. Either way, it's a thing. I know some people who really enjoy just standing out there for 8-10 hours and then walking back in. Not me. Couldn't be me generally, but to each his own. You don't really like hunting because you feel like it's wrong to kill. That's fair. That's fair. See, a couple years ago in my family, things shifted a bit. It went from like being as the goal changed. The goal went from hunt to see family. When I was a kid, everybody spent 8 hours in the woods. We all, trekked out there miles, scouted land, like tried to figure out where the trails went tracking, did deer runs, all that kind of deer drives, all that kind of stuff. As I got older and as, the generation above me got older, they kind of stopped being about that, which I very much enjoyed personally, because it became much more, go out in the morning, spend a little bit of time with nature, go back in for lunch, see if you want to spend some time with the family, or maybe go back out again, up to each person, much less walk out for 3 miles, instead just, walk onto the public land and take a little stroll kind of thing. Be sure you're wearing orange, but take a little stroll almost. It became, I know somebody's going to be judging me for this because, there's a lot of people who are like, hunting's got to be serious. It's semi-serious, if at all, in my family at this point. And I think a lot of people prefer it that way because with the size of my family, it's one of the few opportunities we get to actually see a lot of each other. So saying hi and then leaving each other in the woods for the entire time you're awake each day isn't the greatest chance to talk with everybody and see how their year's been, see what's going on with them. Because family reunions in my house, in my life, there's been 2, and normally it results in somebody saying you can't be here, it's a fire hazard, and we're like, we're in a park, and they're like, yeah, too big, too many people. Whenever I show up to like a large gathering, there's dozens of people who are like, oh, the last time I saw you, you were 1, and I'm like, the last time I saw you was never. No disrespect, I just have no idea who you are. It's a very common problem. I think statistically 1 in 600 people in this city are related to me. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Italian families, they're big. They're real big. I have, I think, nearing or possibly over 30. It's really hard to keep track. Cousins, like first cousins, on one side of my family. So when I say big, I mean big. Oh, this is finally ready to be emptied. My rambling did its purpose. Heck yes. Get the salt. Retrieve salt, please. I really do enjoy going out too. I'm not gonna lie. Like when people ask me if I like sports, I have to say, well, I don't really like ball sports, I don't really like things where you sit on a field that's artificial and just kick something around generally. Again, to each his own. That's a very valid form of exercise. I personally would prefer to go for a hike, or I've multiple times in my life enjoyed free climbing, rock climbing in general as a whole. I want to learn how to do kite surfing. That's something I wanted to pick up this last summer, and unfortunately, the guy who I know knows how to do it, things didn't line up perfectly for it. But, like, there's so many outdoor sports that I absolutely love. Fishing's another good example. I was rambling to somebody earlier that, a lot of people don't understand that fishing, for the most part, is not about getting the fish. It's about, going out and just chilling on a boat with some people and either talking, or some people it's drinking, or it's just an opportunity for a bunch of dudes to get together and socialize. And, like, say that they're focused on something or parallel focus on something. It's really, really chill. I keep a rod and reel in my car, and I keep my fishing license, what's it called? I keep it active, or I keep it renewed every year, because every now and again I just like get the feeling that instead of driving straight home, I'd like to just go sit by the river for a little bit. And just having a little rod there just to cast on and off, I don't know, helps me out. Helps me do something for a little bit. Helps keeps my hands busy. Why is this all freezing in the pipe? That's not good. That's a lot of unnecessary damage to our piping. This liquid is way too cold. Come on. Fix it. And there we go, though. The oxidizer is running now. You can see how much pressure it's building up. It's going to take a minute for that pressure to equalize against all of the CO2 in the base, but we now have a nice big pocket of oxygen developing. We're going to turn off the priority on this stuff for a little bit and let everybody relax, because I just realized Travaldo's pretty darn stressed. And now that we've got enough salt to run for a little bit, we're good. I mean, 100%, like, okay. So I feel that, like, if we're going to talk about the big picture here for a minute, generally, I feel like the way that people go about dealing with their systems, like the way that we deal with the world, is a little bit too open. I've been rambling here about closed systems with this for a long time, and how, you know, if one thing falls out of whack, it ends up stressing out all sorts of other stuff. And I like to look at things from a practical standpoint, because, you know, feelings can vary from person to person. One person can like something, the other person cannot. But, like, there are factual things that we all like oxygen and food. So, like, you know, when you look at it from an analytical standpoint, I think that the way that we currently engage with our environment is under the belief that, you know, it's an open system, that, you know, the stuff that we do doesn't come back to bite us in the butt, and it most definitely does. One of the things that I think, like, I'll point to as an example right now that a lot of people don't even realize, wood quality, the quality of wood today is lower than what it was 200 years ago. The timber that used to be used in the construction of homes and buildings and everything else used to be significantly stronger, because the trees had grown for many, many more cycles, and the bark layers were much closer together in the rings. The rings are much more densely packed, and therefore the actual wood was denser, and therefore much stronger. Because of the way that we've clear-cut trees, and because of the way that we grow trees, we actually are dealing with an inferior product in comparison to the woods of old. If you put them both up on a structure force test or anything else like that, the old wood will do better. And the fact that we're not trying to make the best quality materials possible, even knowing that, and knowing that it would take a mildly longer investment in time but would be worth it because you get a better end product, kind of shows the prioritization. Ramble over, though. Back to game. I do think that it would be better if everything... we have to... Everything in this world has to take to survive, you know? Herbivores and carnivores have to take from something else in order for them to survive. So we have to do that too. What? It grew over time with emojis? We need to find a better balance with the surrounding environment, because otherwise we're gonna hit the cascade, just like I would hit the cascade on this game. Literally the same way that I would end up choking out if I created too much CO2 and not enough oxygen, or didn't grow enough plants, or just starved because I didn't have enough food. We need to think longer term for the planet, just generally. But that's also me because I'm a logistical nut, you know? Like, I really like math problems, and I see all these problems as really simple formulas that you look at them, you do the math, it's like, why the hell aren't we doing this? And it's because somebody just was like, meh. Why? Tell me why. Also, you can see that tiny amount of salt we got has been running this thing non-stop, and is only stopping when it reaches maximum pressure, which then fixes because gases. We're going to add some more airflow tiles, though, in here real quick. Try and increase the rate of exchange. Yeah, go right ahead. Try and make your story. I want to fully pressurize this base. See if we can't get things to solidify out and stabilize. And we're going to set this up too so that we've got CO2 reprocessing, because it would be kind of dumb to do all this work on the oxygen and then just end up with a big bubble of CO2 that never goes away. But yeah, reflecting back, we've had a pretty solid start. Normally the starts to this game are, they're not formulaic, but they do have a method to them. There are certain things you have to prioritize over others, like oxygen and food, just more important than having stable bathrooms. At the end of the day, they can have an accident on the floor. They can't starve to death. That's not acceptable. In the world of acceptable losses, having an accident, yes. Dying, no. And I just realized we're kind of low on food. We can fix that pretty easily, though, by doing this. And then we'll kill the Bamman. Because they've already laid an egg, a Bamimi egg. So they'll be replaced by their next generation, and we can just remove them a little bit earlier from the game. Remove them from the plays. This one hasn't laid one yet, so we can't target them. Nor this one. I don't know if this one will, though, because it seems to be trapped. It's okay, Steve. We're working on it, buddy. Now that we've got O2, and hopefully we'll have food back up in a minute, we might be able to just get ourselves another person, our sixth, a tidier. And then we'll use that tidier to help pick up a whole bunch of this nonsense, because everybody is doing kind of a poor job managing it. Just a little bit. But yeah, recreation room, latrine, lavatory, mess hall, barracks. We don't have a kitchen yet. I think that's because we haven't unlocked... Yeah, we haven't unlocked the spice grinder yet, though. We gotta get that and put that in, and then we'll get the kitchen. Then again, the kitchen doesn't give us any bonuses besides use of the spice grinder, so it's... it's mid. We'll be fine. I also realize now that we still don't have any way of generating fresh wood. We are still currently burning through our wood supply with no replacement for it. We're not burning rapidly, but we are... Huh, for some reason it didn't pop up for me. Weird. We're gonna sweep all that away. Clean up the mess at least. Downtime, so everybody's just chilling now. At least nobody's hungry. Everybody seems to have been fed today, even though we were low. So that's good. And the pipe broke here, damn it. This is just... I need to get myself insulated pipes, I think. I think that's gonna have to be what I need to do. I also might want to set up like an indicator system where it only pulls water when it needs it. I don't think I have the automation overlay yet. Welcome in, MKE. We've got ourselves a pretty good little rig here. Everybody's living, everybody's thriving. We're not only surviving, but we're coming up on thriving now. It's consistent food, consistent O2. Hopefully soon the actual build will be done. I would like them to finish this structure before we finish for the day. So you know what? I'm going to change the priorities a little bit. Can you all please finish your jobs? That would be great. Thank you. Oh, they're prioritizing that first because that's priority. Now, that's fair. That's fair. But it should give them more to work on. And then hopefully this pod will drop us a tidier because we need somebody who can do more round the base work for us. We're going to stop burning excess wood. Good stuff. Turn that off so that because we just don't need it right now. We have enough salt. If we run low, we'll turn the machine back on. But right now we've got 600 kilograms and the thing only needs 10 kilograms per cycle. It's not like it takes a lot. It just requires us to have the resource. There's something that evil can never take away from us. Our family. I mean, I think Batman would beg to differ. just the thought here. I think Batman would argue that evil took his family. Just, you know, just coming across my head immediately. That would be the first thing on my mind. I don't think he'd agree with you. Well, if you're watching, like, have you been watching Fast and the Furious this week? Can the devil destroy Batman? Can God destroy Batman? I mean, isn't the argument with Batman that if he has enough prep time, he will beat anybody? I thought that that's, like, standardly agreed in the comic book community, that as long as he's provided with as much prep time as he requires, Batman will defeat anybody. That's, like, his superpower. His kryptonite is being sneak attacked. I don't know. The comics get kind of whack. So until I haven't read every single piece of DC media, and I know for a fact that in some pieces of comic book media, God does make an appearance. So I can't say for certain whether you're right or not. And on the follow point on that too, because we're talking about in lore here, I actually saw a comic recently of Scout from TF2. And it never it's an old comic, but it never ceases to get me a laugh. He goes and talks to God, and God's like, "You've always wanted to know your father, right?" And Scout says, "No, I already know my father. He's blah 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 blah." And it's some famous person or something like that. And God's like, "Oh yeah, definitely." And he like gives a little nod, and the angels snap the neck of the guy who was about to walk out, who assumedly it was Scout's real father. And they drag him away while God's like, "Here, look over here, Scout," trying to distract him. I find that incantation of God just funny in the fact that he doesn't know what Scout is thinking, but also knows what he dreams of most. But Scout isn't willing to admit it. His denial is too strong. TF2 media as a whole is absolutely whack, though. I've seen clips of the comics. I've seen bits and pieces as memes. I need to read them at some point, because it seems to be an absolute trip of a series. Oh, yes, we're nearly finally done with this. Come on, buddy. Finish it up. Because now we're getting all of the O2 up here. Nice. Good pressure. Nearly 1,000 grams all the way up. And then we want to get all this CO2 pressurized downwards. And then we're going to convert all of it into oxalite. Well, you see, the thing is that, like, your interpretation of what you imply as God and what others imply as God might be different. And in some interpretations, God is not absolute and all-powerful. Furthermore, there are thought experiments and concepts that exist that debate God's almightiness. Like, here's a question for you. Can God create a stone that he cannot lift? That is the standard God paradox. Because if God can create a stone that he cannot lift, then that means that he is not all-powerful. Because he can't lift the stone. But if he can't create the stone, then he's also not all-powerful, because he can't make something that he himself cannot, you know. There's a couple of debates I've seen that, like, alter the parameters by adding a variable. In my favorite anime of all time, Psycho Pass, actually rewatching it right now. If y'all haven't seen it, you really should. It's great. I'm thinking about making a, I'll avoid that. But Psycho Pass is fantastic. And one of the arguments they make is that by adding the parameter of time, you fix the God paradox. Essentially, God starts, he creates a rock that he cannot lift, either by making the rock too heavy or by making himself weaker. But then after doing that, he then sets it back to normal again. You know, he then makes the rock capable of being lifted or makes himself stronger or whatever. At the end, there isn't anything that he can't do. He just can't do all of it at the same time. So there's a bunch of debates for how God's almighty powers work. If you want to say that he's an absolute unstoppable force of almighty unstoppableness, then of course nothing will stand in his way. But also, you should probably quantify in your head, can your God create a stone he cannot lift? Because if he can't, then you might need to reevaluate your structure a little bit. There have been people who have spent, you know, literally, this has been thought about for hundreds of years. There are people who used to sit around the campfire contemplating this stuff before they had video games to spend their time on. It's really interesting to think about, but know that there is never going to be a concrete answer either. You don't get to know until you go know, you know? And you don't get to find out until it's time to find out, and it might never be time to find out, too. Now I'm getting all deep and philosophical at the end of stream. I'm sorry, everybody. But you don't know until you just don't know. There's no way of knowing. Oh, I'm near certain Batman would go straight to heaven. That's an argument. See, that one's much more constructive because it's like, okay, has Batman been good or bad? Batman unequivocally has been awesome. He's been very, very good. So Batman is definitely going to heaven. 100%. You could not convince me that Batman does not have a seat next to the top seat. He refuses to use guns, he doesn't kill anybody, he does not impose his own form of justice upon others, he instead just simply stops people from performing unjust acts and then leaves them to be judged by the authorities. Like, there is no way to be more morally good as a vigilante, in my opinion. Unless you just don't be a vigilante, because vigilantism is technically amoral in some ways. Now, Superman, it depends on which version of Superman. If you're talking like comic book, the mid to late 1900s Superman, he's going to heaven too. Because he was supposed to be like the best of the best. If you're talking about some of the modern stuff they've done with Superman, he gets more gray. And that's like more like the live action stuff and stuff like that. I'm not as 100% sure about all that. I would say, like, I'm going to reference back to comic books, because comic books are, you know, in my interpretation of the lore, comic books, especially considering, or to most nerds, is like the scripture of superheroes. The movies are just interpretations of that. So like Superman is probably right next to him too, chillin'. However, the other question then is this is the new question, because nobody knows this. How does God feel about aliens? Because Superman isn't a human. He's an alien. So then that causes a new set of questions, because, like, you know, there's also the debate of, like, do all dogs go to heaven and everything? I like to think they do. And for anybody listening to this in the future, anybody listening to this right now, this is not a serious conversation. I don't have serious theological conversations. You have every right to believe whatever you want to believe. I will not say that it's silly or bad or anything like that, as long as you are not messing with anybody else. Okay, you are allowed to do whatever the heck you want to do. You want to believe in the flying spaghetti monster? Go right ahead, okay? According to multiple states, you're allowed to wear a colander on your head for your driver's license picture. I'm not here to tell you that any religion is wrong or that any god is wrong or that anything anywhere at all. We're just shooting the wind while these little duplicants do their work. So I just want to make that clear, because people sometimes get they're defensive of their religion, which in a lot of cases they have a feeling that they need to be. This is not one of those places. I don't want to hear anything about anybody feeling that nobody should ever say anything about anybody's stuff that's like super derogatory. Like I said, as long as you're not messing with other people, believe what you want to believe. And don't think that I'm being at all serious about most of this at all. There's a couple of like philosophical points. I like philosophy. That's just how it goes. What if Batman went to hell? What would be his punishment from the devil? Okay, so like there's a couple of ways you could interpret that. I guess like one of the worst things you could do to Batman is just make him watch the Joker commit crimes, right? Like just make him watch the Joker. And then like on that line too, what if he's just sat in front of the Joker and the Joker's just scream laughing at him for all of eternity? That's pretty bad. I would consider that hell. Just scream laughing Joker until the end of time. Otherwise, yeah, I think it's just like maybe forcing him to like live in a world where he can't be Batman, but everything happens the same way, so all the crimes take place and there's nobody there to stop them. That's kind of more like an alternate dimension thing, but that would be another way I guess you could punish him, is you just make it so that he can't help. I think Superman, you do the same thing, but you strip him of his powers. You make him a normal man, and you put him in a world full of the absolute most heinous stuff. And he will just hate his existence because of the fact that he is, like, the existence of justness, you know? Like, he's supposed to be an embodiment of what justness is. Like Vision, or, like, you know, like, there's a couple of characters who are very much like that. And, like, yeah, I think that the best way you would punish those good guys is just by making them watch bad things. Because, like, nothing can be done to them. They've already experienced every bad thing that you can experience in life to themselves. Like, you know, they've been held hostage and everything. They've had stuff happen to them. And, like, there's not anything, like, you know, that hasn't pretty much been addressed in the comics already. So, over under, I think the only way you could hurt them is by making them not be able to do what they want to do most, which is save people. Which is why I don't think they'd end up there in the first place. Alright, so this is working now. Fantastic. We've got ourselves CO2 reprocessing going. We've still got enough wood in stockpile to make something of it later on. Let's just finish the last of this actual structure. I don't like this section of blueprint being undone still. It's been here for way too long. Let's finish the actual build. And then that'll be probably where we call it for today. Yeah, I don't mind getting on off-topic rambles. I just want to make sure that nobody gets any feathers ruffled either. Because we're here to play games and have fun. You want political commentary, go find a political commentator. I don't talk about that stuff because I don't need the anger in my veins like that. I don't need it. Why we play silly games and get up to silly fun. And everybody remember that when you see tomorrow's video. Like I said, it's an experiment, so tell me what y'all think. I think the premise is pretty hilarious, but I laugh at myself on like a daily basis, so that's just me. Comedian who laughs at his own jokes. I don't know whether that makes it good or bad. But yeah, I hope you all really enjoy what we got coming out tomorrow, because it should be really interesting. If it does go over well, we are going to be coming out with some more too. There's a lot prepped for that. I've only processed like less than a sixth or a fifth of all of the stuff I've already got prepped for it. Because when I dove in the experiment, I dove in. So it should be interesting. Would I go back in time to the beginning of the Earth or the end? So, Neither. The beginning of the Earth was just a hot ball of magma and persisted that way for a very long time until it got hit by enough comets to, you know, have water and cool off. So the beginning doesn't hold much for me. The end, there's a couple of, like, ways this world could end. It could end at our own hands, you know, like, theoretically. If we got big enough, we could, like, make a Q-bomb, and then boom, and the world's cracked. But more likely, we're just going to be dealing with the fact that the sun will absorb the Earth. Because before the sun dies, it will expand out to cover the entire asteroid belt, and all of the 4 planets inside that ring will be absorbed into the sun. Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars will all cease to exist long before the sun stops burning. No, I would not want to be there either. Because, like, that's just, there's just a few people walking the Earth. Everything on the planet is actively hostile to you. Toilets don't exist. There's no such thing as a bed yet. The best thing people have invented so far is rocks. I'm good. And the end is just gonna be fire. By the time the sun engulfs the Earth, all of the water will have boiled off, and there will be nothing here. So, like, you just end up with a rock on either side. I'd rather go to another planet and check it out, because then at least nobody's been there before, you know? It's still just a rock, but at least then it's something unique. I mean, Earth is obviously something very unique. All life that we know of exists inside of the bounds of Earth currently. But it's also the only place that humans have been besides the moon, which is still in the influence of Earth. Humans have never been to Mars or Jupiter or anything like that. And if I'm taking a one-way ticket on a time machine, I'll just take it straight to Jupiter, you know? See all of the moons there. That would be interesting. There's like hundreds, over 80 moons. There's a lot. There'd be a lot to see there, you know? There'd be a lot of variety, and maybe even some life. I know more than a couple people have their fair share of belief that, you know, some of the moons of Jupiter might be the most likely seeding ground for life outside of Earth, inside of our solar system. Which, statistically, I could see it. But, yeah. We got lost in the sauce at the end, but also we were just waiting for these dupes to continue doing their work. It's not like we could queue up much more right now, because they're just busy with their queue. However, we've got plenty of food, we got plenty of oxygen, the bathrooms are up and working again. Fantastic. We've got all of the basic building blocks for a good life here. All of our dupes could easily survive out here for a good long time. So, I'm pretty happy with how we went. I'd say power of death. Power of corruption sounds like power of chaos, and, like, you can't control chaos, so, like, it's not like you'd be able to use that to do anything constructive. You just go around, you know, essentially Midas touching everything. And that really would, like, you know, it's just like, oh, that sounds cool, but it really wouldn't work out. Just like Touch of Gold doesn't work out practically, right? The power of death, like, Death Note exists. There's a lot of different ways you can interpret the power of death, and there's a lot of different ways you could use that productively and in a constructive manner. Like, you could go in a singular direction and continue going down that. You could set a goal and do it. Whether it's good or evil of a goal, I'm not talking about. I'm just saying, like, that is a more practical to use power. Because the power of corruption, you just corrupt everybody around you, and they're all going to go in random directions. Somebody's going to go boozing, somebody's going to go eating, somebody's going to go driving really fast. Everybody's got some, you know, everybody's got a McDonald's, but they're all different. So you're not going to be able to get some kind of cohesive goal executed out of that. You're just going to end up causing chaos for chaos, and there's already enough of that. You want to be the chaos theorist from Jurassic Park? Is that it? Still don't know why they brought a chaos theorist to evaluate the safety of a dinosaur park, but sure. At least they brought Jeff Goldblum along. Alright, we're gonna close out here, but y'all want a little bit of Vince lore before I leave? Jeff Goldblum is my shower curtain. Thank you very much. I hope y'all enjoyed today's stream. We got a little bit off topic, but, you know, happens to the best of us, and I hope y'all had fun. If you did, hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button right next to it. Only 5% of y'all are subscribed. We really should be working on that just a little bit to help the algorithm understand that Vince is doing good work over here. And I hope y'all have a great week. New video out tomorrow, new video out Friday, and I will be back next Sunday. Later!